We are praying for everyone in California tonight, including the firefighters, those risking their lives to battle these flames. Keep in mind, this is not a rural area. This is the city of Los Angeles. It is the second most populated city in the country. It is also one of the wealthiest and highest taxed areas in the entire world. And because of its dry, arid climate, wildfires always pose a massive risk. There's a lot of drought in Southern California. I lived there 5 years. And yet the city, the state, they seem totally, completely, utterly unprepared. In fact, the city's mayor, Karen Bass, was absolutely nowhere to be found as the crisis was unfolding. She was in Ghana and took quite a lot of time to get back to L.A. When she did arrive, Mayor Bass had no interest at all in answering any questions. This is beyond outrageous. Take a look.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
Well, there's a real mayor of the people. But Mayor Bass, Governor Newsom, the federal government, they have all failed the people of California. Much of the dry brush all across all of Southern California has not been cut back for quite some time. They have a science. It's called forestry. You have controlled burns. You prevent fires like this from happening. Now, the L.A. Fire Department, they are understaffed. They are underfunded. Mayor Karen Bass increased, by the way, this year's library budget nearly $15 million, while simultaneously she cut the fire department's funding by $17.6 million. That was only a couple of months ago. The mayor also recently touted a $400 million handout from the Biden administration, $400 million that they allocated for green environmental efforts at the Port of Los Angeles. On top of that, they spent another $2+ billion, and they can't afford to pay firefighters, knowing that wildfires like you're watching on your screen are common. Meanwhile, the city's fire chief obsessively prioritizing her department's time funding for DEI. The water management and infrastructure in Southern California is also a huge problem. Firefighters all across the city encountering malfunctioning hydrants as part of the city is completely, now they've ran out of water. And get this, because of the state's insane environmental regulations, their capitulation to the environmental movement, well, it's designed to protect a rare fish species. Billions of gallons of water literally are dumped into the Pacific Ocean instead of being stored in reservoirs for emergencies like this. And several months ago, before the election, Donald Trump, he predicted about 4 months ago that this was a disaster ready to happen. Take a look.
They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why do you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north of water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. Your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires.
Now, this was not Donald Trump's only warning to California. Back in 2018, during his first term, with Governor Newsom standing right beside him, President Trump urged the state of California to manage their forests and cut back the brush. Common sense, the science of forestry. Take a look.
We get all of this cleaned out and protected. We got to take care of the floors, the floors of the forests, very important. You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that, to that end.
Now, sadly, Donald Trump's warnings fell on deaf ears, and now the people of California, they are suffering. But this was a disaster that had been brewing for many decades, and you can go to school. You can get a degree in forestry. This is not complicated science. In Deep Blue, California, one party, they have all the power. There's no oversight. There's no accountability. They have been catering to the radical environmentalists over people's safety for decades. They can have limited control burns. They can have brush removal, which is the kindling for these fires. Just like when they denied, you might recall, we were in the San Joaquin Valley, and they were denying literally, thousands and thousands of acres of farmland, water. Farmers were not allowed to farm in favor of a little minnow fish called the Delta smelt. We went out there and covered that story. It's not even an endangered species, but they gave the water to the Delta smelt, not to the farmers. There are no reality checks in California's one-party rule. Listen to Adam Carolla detail his experience as a young man when he tried to apply to the L.A. Fire Department. Listen to this story.
I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps, and I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see in about 7 years. And I went to a construction site and dug ditches and picked up garbage for the next 7 years. I got a letter in the mail sent to my father's house saying, your time has come to do the written exam for the LA Fire Department. I took it, and I was standing in line, and I had a young woman of color standing behind me in line, and I said, just out of curiosity, when did you sign up to become a fireman? Because I did it, or a person, 7 years ago. And she said, Wednesday.
Now, in the near future, when the fire has been contained, there's got to be a reckoning in all of California, not just Southern California. But for now, we do pray for everyone impacted by the devastating fires still raging all across the city. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.